This recent image model that Google released is a huge change. My company actually has two products. One is a conversational AI, which you can hook that up to Twilio and you can have it make calls or receive calls. Our other product is this TTS that we just released, where you could have a conversation, hook this up to Claude or whatever, and create a conversational experience. You can have an expressive conversation where you can customize the voice as much as you want. I have a blog. I'm a software developer. I'm going to just put my blog posts through this, put a little audio link on top. I'm going to publish my blog as a podcast on Spotify.
I'm just going to go down that rabbit hole. That was freaking fascinating. Richard, in Las Vegas, I'm feeling lucky. Why don't you show me what you're working on, man?
All right. Well, I will start with something fun that I've done in my personal life. I took him to soccer practice, 2-year-old soccer practice the other day, and he didn't want to participate. He's really into Clifford. Like, he watches the Clifford TV show and reads the books. So Gemini, they came out with this great image generation model. So I figured I would generate my own book about Clifford going to soccer practice and seeing if I could, motivate him to participate in the exercises. So I guess I'll share my screen. Big red dog named, let's not name it Clifford because that would be copyright.
Copyright.
Ifford. Yeah.
Gifford.
Goes to soccer practice, initially doesn't want to participate, but discovers he really likes it. And you
so this is Google's AI Studio?
Yep, AI Studio. Don't go to Gemini. It's not there. It's in the AI Studio. And you use their image generation experimental model and just say, generate about 1 sentence per frame.
Wow.
And an image. Story should be about, 8 pages long. And then you run it. It obviously won't be production quality, but there we go.
What are you talking about, production quality? Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Dude, that's Clifford. I mean, he's not the big red dog, but he's the red dog.
Yeah. Ifford.
Excuse me, Ifford. Dude, and it's written this soccer story for your son. I can't read any of the captions underneath, but...
Yeah, it's, he wasn't sure about this soccer thing. It looked like a lot of running. The little black and white ball rolled towards him, and he just watched it go by. Come on, Ifford, try kicking it. Hesitantly, Ifford swung his big paw at the ball, and to his surprise, it zoomed forward.
What's crazy about this is even the cartooning looks like Clifford. Like, it looks like the children's books I read growing up.
Yeah, it doesn't look exactly like him. I think... Yeah, I don't know. I feel.
Well, I'm not saying about the. I'm not saying him. Just like
situation, but
the style.
Yeah.
Like the coloring and the. Anyway, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so this takes 45 seconds. I can print this out. I can give it to my son, and he's not picky about the quality of the illustrations, and he's just gonna eat it up, and maybe he'll do a little bit better at soccer practice.
Did you try this? Did you show it to him?
Not yet. I need to figure out how to export these into I'm gonna have to individually save each image. It's crazy how just downloading the images and putting them into the document is the part that takes way longer than the illustration and the narration.
Well, I have 4 boys under 11, and I've told each one of them the same story. It started with my oldest, and then there's a story that I tell about they see a creature in the distance, and they have to sneak up on it, and it turns out the creature is Bullseye from Toy Story, and then they ride Bullseye to their house, and as they're riding to the house, they see all their friends. They see Spider-Man and Venom and Batman and Iron Man and every character you can think of, and they love this story every night. Obviously not my 11-year-old anymore, but the 2 to 5-year-old. And that would be cool to put in this and just have it generate a storybook for me. Obviously I couldn't use those names, but it could generate a storybook.
Yeah, so, I think just this recent image model that Google released is, a huge change versus, how easy and how good results you can get from what came before. Yeah. So I definitely recommend just checking it out and seeing what it can do.
Okay, I love that.
Okay, and now I'll demo something a little bit more related to my job. So I work at Hume AI, and we just released, a few weeks ago, a model for text-to-speech. And so my job is to demo the capabilities of our model. And so what I've been doing is I've taken, I went to college and took some English classes in college and wrote some poems and things, and I put those through the text-to-speech model just to kind of see what results you can get. And my workflow for doing this is I have made an MCP server that I use via Claude Desktop.
Okay, I'm very stupid. So what is an MCP?
Right. So I guess it's a standard around tool use. Most of the models support tool use. So you can, you work for some software company, you have a software product, you want people to be able to just like chat with Claude or chat with OpenAI and like use your tool. So MCP is the standard from Anthropic. You can use it from Cursor. You can use it from Claude Desktop. You can't do it from the website because like it all runs on your laptop, or that's kind of the default. The servers run on your laptop.
It essentially allows you to use your tools within the model.
Yep. So what you do is, let me make this a little bigger. You edit this file called Claude Desktop config.json. And then there's these commands that you can put in here to add new capabilities to Claude. You can do this if you're not a developer. This makes a lot of sense if you are a coder, but like this one.
That's what I was going to ask. Did you write this yourself, or were you using Cursor to write this?
So this one gives Claude access to the file system. I wrote this config. You could probably ask Cursor or Claude just to write this config for you and get some results. But so here I'm giving it access to the file system so it can see the contents of these directories where, this is where I put
where your poems are located.
Poems and stuff. And then, this is where my Obsidian vault is. I use Obsidian, which is a note-taking software. And this is where I write my code. And then this is the server that I wrote, which is just a little wrapper around like the software that my company makes. And so this is what will give Claude the ability to convert text to speech. So let's check it out. I will start a new chat with Claude. I will say, I have a poem in, let's see, users, Twitchard, creative, out to get me. I would like you to help me design a voice to read the poem interactively and then produce audio files for the poem. So we'll do that.
You went to school for computer science? Is that what your major was?
CS and economics.
Where'd you go to school?
Washington and Lee University. So
very cool.
Small liberal arts school. I took a lot of classes outside my major.
Yeah.
Which was a good experience. I think I got looking at my file system, it's seeing that this is a directory. Okay, it's reading the poem. Oh, it likes
so cool.
The ending of the poem. And now it's going to create the voice. Hopefully you can hear what's going to happen because it's going to play it too. Oh.
Claude is?
Yeah. Well, Claude will call my little server and it'll play it through my speakers.
Okay.
Oh, I accidentally clicked to disallow it because Claude always prompts you to ask permission.
Right.
Tell him to try again. All right. And I'll click allow for this chat. And then it'll cook for a second and then it'll speak.
It'll cook. How long did it take you to build this? Not necessarily the total tool, but just your server.
I do not have long, but they're out to get me. All of them. Those knowing faces I considered friends. Those awkward family arms that felt like love.
Did you pick it British? Like, was that just, hey, I think?
Yeah, so it's coming up with, well, this is the first line of my poem. Usually,
I do not have long, but they're out to get me.
After he's done
all
going,
Those knowing faces I considered friends. Those awkward family arms that felt like love.
Yeah, so my company's model, usually you want to, if you can describe the voice that you want, like you could say British accent, or you can say, this person should sound really emotional, or this person should sound monotone, and stuff like that. But also if you just like send it text, it'll try and find the voice that is appropriate to that text. So if you put like Army Hearties, it'll know that it's supposed to be a pirate or that sort of thing.
So the first line that played, I was like, oh yeah, that sounds robotic. The second one that it played didn't sound as robotic. They were different. I mean, they were still the same British voice, but they were, I guess, different inflections. I don't even know the right terminology to use. Was that on purpose? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, well, so that happened because Claude hasn't figured out how to use the model the right way. It can't hear the audio. Like, Claude doesn't support like audio input. So what I can do is I could say, Those voices sounded too monotone. I would like it to be more expressive. And then can you emphasize parts of the sample text with capitalization and ellipses to add a little bit more stylistic flair and emotional variance to the voice?
What?
And then it'll...
Is Claude writing code that then goes back to your server that tells it what to do?
Claude isn't writing code, it's just writing text, and it's writing a voice description. So the text, this all goes to Hume's, text-to-speech model.
I do not have one, but they're out to get me. All of them. Those knowing faces I considered friends. Those awkward family arms that felt.
Yeah. So it's going to try again.
How did you build the model?
So I didn't build the model. My my company has some researchers who do that. So I just show off the cool work that they do. So they did their machine learning stuff that I don't understand, but all I did was build this connection kind of between Claude and, the text to speech. You put in text and you get out speech. You can try what my company does. We got a demo.
Well, let me just ask, what's the use case for this? Like, why do we need another text to speech company?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of them. We think ours is particularly expressive. So if you're a creative person that wants, emotion in your voice or to be able to customize exactly what the voice is like, we're pretty good at that. Ours is the first model where it's an LLM trained. It's not like just a model that, takes some words and converts them into the sounds that correspond to those words. It understands what the speech means, right? Like most of the traditional text-to-speech models, they will go from, you'll type to them, and then they might have an LLM in there in between that converts the text to phonemes, just some representation of the sounds that corresponds to those words. It's not whereas ours goes directly from, I'm not the researcher, so I don't understand, but it's
no, you're good.
Language model, which is thing.
Let me ask you this. What are the use cases for this? So a creative person who wants the voice to sound good, but are there other business applications? Like if I'm a small business owner and I want to have an after hours phone service, or if I want to have sales support, but I don't have enough money to hire a person, I want to hire AI. Would I go to your company and be like, hey, I want the voice to sound like this, and then I'm using this model in the background to answer the questions? Does that make sense what I'm asking? So it's like you're using kind of two models. One is the voice, one is the brain behind the way it operates.
So my company actually has two products. One is a conversational AI, which, you can hook that up to Twilio and you can have it make calls or receive calls, and then you'll have a conversation with the user. And then our other product is this TTS that we just released, where, you can't, it's not like you could have a conversation, hook this up to Claude or whatever, and
sure,
create a conversational experience, but it's not gonna, be able to be interrupted by the user and have a natural feeling conversation. And soon we're gonna make our conversational AI model use this model. This model is called Octave behind the scenes, so you can have an expressive conversation where you can customize the voice as much as you want. So that's one use case, is the conversational use case where you want to, have phone calls that happen and deal with things with users. For just the TTS, it's more creatives, right?
Just creatives.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to put an ad on TikTok or whatever, and you want the voice to be better than what you're capable of speaking yourself, and just a lot of control over it, and to be able to iterate, yourself without... that's one use case. People can use it for that. Any kind of content creation where you need voices. We've seen people on Twitter, just make a little short animation that they're showing to people.
This is so freaking cool because you can actually customize the voice. How would I use this in an application other than content? Because content's great, but if I'm a business owner, what could I do? Is it better at cloning my voice than other models?
We're going to release voice cloning soon. Voice cloning's a thing. You could do that. I think one thing that people do is want to listen to things on the web. You're on the go and you don't have time to scroll your phone and you want to listen to something.
All right, now's the part of the show where I feel the most uncomfortable, but my therapist says I need to face my fears. So here we are. I've started a newsletter and I want you to subscribe. And what you're going to get every single week are the aggregated conversations from that week that I have on this podcast with an overview of what their business actually looks like. I'm also going to throw in a review of 1 or 2 businesses that are listed for sale. I'll give you my opinion on whether or not the EBITDA multiple is good, or there's customer concentration, or there's red flags or green flags. And then lastly, I'm going to give you one piece of actionable advice every single week on how to buy your first business. So click the link below, subscribe to my newsletter, and let's get back into the show.
You might, have a voice that you want to read it to you.
Right.
So that's a use case for experiences
Cool.
like that, where, your users just want a voice to narrate content to them. Like something that I'm going to do is, I have a blog. I'm a software developer. I'm going to just put my blog posts through this, put a little audio link on top so that you can click it. And then I'm going to publish my blog as a podcast on Spotify.
Oh, cool.
Who want to consume, my written content can do so, from their favorite podcast app.
That's a really interesting use case. Yeah.
Yeah. You could do things around it too. Like you could just read the blog post, but what I have Claude sort of generate a little intro with an excuse why, I'm not on the podcast. And so the AI is just going to read my blog post. And then I can have Claude also generate a little criticism of what I've written at the end. So it's a little bit more of a fun audio experience than just the text itself.
Let me ask you this. This is what I like to ask people who are using AI every day. What models do you personally use? And what are the use cases that you use them for?
I use Claude a lot. I use Claude Code that they released a month ago now, almost.
Was it at the same time they released 3.7?
Yeah, 3.7
Okay.
Claude Code. And so that can perform pretty simple kind of tedious coding tasks that I have to do. I use that. When I'm trying to solve kind of more complicated problems, I use OpenAI's reasoning models. They have a cool thing I can show you. So let's just open up ChatGPT.
That's interesting.
Desktop again.
When you say reasoning models, which I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so they have...
They have 4.0, 4.5, 01, 01 mini, 03. To me, they're all the same, but are some of those reasoning and some of those aren't?
Yes. So 4.0 is just kind of like their normal model. You type to it, it types back, and that's it. These models have this other step where they reason about things. And so they'll you can see kind of the chain of thought that happens, a question I like to ask, and this is a good way to tell whether it's a reasoning model or not, is when was the last US presidential election not in a leap year? And the right answer is 1900, because, leap years, every millennium or whatever, they get an exception to the rule that 2000 wasn't a leap, or was a leap year, right? Whereas 1900 wasn't. Yeah.
Right.
You have to really know what the rules for when a leap year happens is in order to get
Got it.
there. So if I ask this to 4.0, I think it'll get it wrong. Oops. Oh, I clicked update just instinctively.
No worries.
When was the last... Oh, here it is. Sorry, I can't help with that. Well, yeah, that's definitely wrong.
Sure.
You can help with that.
Come on, 4.0.
I guess there's some safety thing that they've added to their model that makes it not want to answer this question.
It must be presidential election.
Yeah.
Stay away from that.
So I'm going to try, here's a history question for you. When was the last presidential election not in a leap year? Oh, searching the web. All right. Yeah, that's all right. It cheated.
You cheated. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But if you ask, let's see, can I just...
if it had used its native intelligence, quote unquote, it wouldn't necessarily have been able to reason through, oh, actually, there was an exception. 1900 was the year. That's the answer.
Don't use web search. Just figure it out. Yeah, we'll see if we can do this. Yeah, okay, so it'll try and reason, and it does this, and it just decides that 1928 was not in a leap year, because I don't know. Yeah, and then if you do a reasoning model and ask...
So which model did you just pick? I couldn't
that
see.
was 4.0, and I had I had to tell it that it was a history question, so it didn't think that I was trying to like vote because it didn't want to get into like the question. And then I had to tell it not to use web search so it didn't cheat. And then it did what I wanted it to do, which is try to find the answer but get it wrong. And then if I start a new chat, I switch the model to a reasoning model. This is their most advanced reasoning model. Well, available to me at least.
Oh, so that's O1 Pro?
This is O3 Mini High.
O3 Mini. Okay.
Yeah, but O1's good too. I'm actually not sure on the differences, but it's a reasoning model. And you can see its reasoning. You can usually see like the steps. It has like this internal monologue. You know, like the user is asking about this. Okay, a leap year happens every 4 years with an extra day.
Wow.
So it does this chain of thought thing that it hides from you by default, but you can peek into it.
You can watch it.
It's
if you expand it.
And then eventually it'll spit out its answer, and 1900 gets it right.
So let me ask you this. I've seen all of these models when I'm going into ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
I usually just use 4.0. If I'm trying to write something, I use 4.5. Help me understand, when would I use the reasoning models, and when would I just use the general model?
Yep. I mean, I almost always use the general model unless I'm coding or trying to solve just like some analytical problem where you have to, reason step by step in order to come to the correct answer, right? So great for coding.
So I wouldn't use 4.0 for coding.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
No, I get what you're saying, but like it would be better to use
better results if you use a reasoning model usually.
Why? What's the difference? Do you know what the?
Yeah, the difference is just it does this chain of thought thing, right? Like instead of just all right, I'm gonna write the answer now. It's explicitly trained to do this type of reasoning where it lays out its assumptions and the steps that it is taking explicitly, and that helps it. It's still it's always trying to predict the next token, right? But like it's trained to predict tokens in a way that gives you this thing, which is more likely to eventually get to like a right answer that follows from sound reasoning versus, just something off the top of its head,
That's fascinating. I had no idea what the difference was. I was just like, whatever, bunch of models, but that makes sense.
Yeah. So I use Claude for coding mostly when I use Claude Code and I want it to like actually just like, hey, here's this tedious coding thing that I don't want to do. If I'm like actually working on like a hard project that the AI is not going to be able to do, often I will kind of use ChatGPT as my pair programmer. Their desktop app has this feature where you can like connect it to your code editor. Like I can connect it to Terminal over here. And then,
how do I do that? Where did you just do that?
What?
Oh, yeah. You can connect apps.
Yeah, you can, and then it can see this, right? And so, I can say, this is JavaScript, just, today is, or what do I want to do? Oh, well, I'll just like Fibonacci, and then I won't implement it, and I'll pretend that I don't know how the Fibonacci sequence works. And I will like open up advanced voice mode and do, hey, ChatGPT, can you see my terminal?
Nope, I can't actually see your terminal or interact with it directly. But if you describe what you're seeing or copy.
Yeah, you're lying. Anyway, I have like used ChatGPT successfully to like, I don't have to like context switch in between like my chat window and my code window. I can just like, it's just there. I can use my voice to ask questions.
Oh, that's smart.
And,
yeah.
Programmer, which Claude doesn't have an experience like that. It's like, it's not actually about the model. It's about
the UI.
Yeah, the UI. And it's an so these are both.
That's a really cool use case. I like that a lot.
Yep.
Dude, Richard, this was awesome. Not just because your company's model is interesting. That was interesting in and of itself. But I think a couple things that I really got out of this were when to use reasoning and when not. That I'm just going to go down that rabbit hole. I think that's super interesting. And I kind of want to explore that. And I hadn't even thought of it. You're the first person to actually mention that. So that was freaking fascinating. The UI that you just showed at the very end there, which was speech to text, not even speech to text. You were talking, but also able to work in another setting and still have AI assisting you. You didn't have, like you said, context switch. I think that was fascinating. And then the third one was sort of in the very beginning with this Google AI Studio, or I can't remember the name of it. Was that right?
Yeah, Google AI Studio, and use the Gemini experimental model with image generation.
Yeah. So I have that up. I'm excited to like try that and just make some stories for my kids. Like personally, that's a really cool one. I like that a lot. This was awesome, man.
Thanks for talking to me. It was fun to just
Yeah.
sort of demonstrate the way I use AI. I think it is. You have to figure this stuff out, right? And it's not obvious from all the press releases. But if
No.
you're, if you spend some time with it, you can figure out ways to make it work for you.